did work hard to achieve this against, there's no doubt, against a negative backdrop. And you did achieve what you say in your own book. You set out to rebalance a perception of a negative stereotype of the community. For me, the most important chapter in the book, and I think, Seamus, there's possibly another book in this chapter, was chapter 5. In chapter 5, Seamus goes into his own life. And if you haven't read the book yet, chapter 5 for me is the chapter to go to. Seamus looks at his own life, and without a shadow of a doubt, he bravely and courageously himself talks about his own life. He talks about an illness, and it wasn't easy for him to do, and to do it in such a public way. I commend him. But he talks about an illness that plagued him for 8 years, and almost restricted him to his home for 8 years. And again, without the significant support and help of his wife and his family, he was in difficulties. But he fought his way through it, and I'm glad he did fight his way through it, because at the end of the time, at the end of that 8 years, he had managed to have developed skills that allowed him to become a professional journalist. And indeed, that's what he became. And we're very proud that you did it, Seamus. I'm very proud of what you've done. So, Seamus, thank you for your inspiration. We're very proud that you've achieved your lifetime ambition to become a journalist. We're very proud that you've achieved your vision of creating positive news. And we're also very proud that you've created the debate. I think you call it, you want to start some debate around positive news. I think the debate has started. So with that, Seamus, I'm just going to say thank you very much. And I'm very, very proud to launch It's Written in Concrete by Seamus Kelly.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Seamus Kelly.
Mine's working.
Yours is working. Talk away from there.
Evening all, and I want to thank everybody for coming out here this evening. Hope you can all hear me okay.
Yeah.
Great, and I hope you enjoyed the pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Cara, for that wonderful introduction. I don't know whether it's deserve all of it or not, but it felt good anyway.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed the pictures, because I enjoyed taking every one of them. And I want to thank my sponsors as well for helping me to put this book together. Without their support, it wouldn't have worked out. If you give me time, I'll just read out the names of some of the sponsors here. If you give me a moment, please. Okay, the sponsors are, start with, they're in the book anyway, you'll probably read them. But they'll give that to me if I don't mention. The Ballymun Area Office, Dublin City Council, Edward McManus of Edward McManus Pharmacy, Civic Centre, Ballymun. Robert Murphy, thank you, Robert, as well. The Non-Super Valley, Main Street, Thomas Laverty, Pharmacy, Professor Bill Tormey, Beaumont Hospital, and also a special mention to Access Community Law Centre, Arts Director Martin Bryant for all your help, and for the use of this theatre tonight.
For these at all.
Well, I must say, I've done it many times. I've covered stories and reviews and everything in this theatre. I've enjoyed every moment. Some things are boring, and some are very exciting.
Hopefully tonight will be one of those.
It was positive. But it's a great feeling to be here on the other side tonight. I remember one stage when you were here at the time, and there was a photograph up there, an iconic photograph of the late Derek Fitzpatrick. He was a good friend, and a good friend to Axis, and Donald O'Hurley. And I do remember the two of them just smiling on their own stage. I took part in a Celebrate, which was a play put together by Maria Place and some others, and it was my first time at acting. And I was the nosy reporter in that particular Celebrate. But I do have fond memories of this theatre, so thank you for letting me use it for this moment. And I want to thank Dexter as well for their performance. It was great going as well done.
I suppose it's great. Carl, you kind of said it all, really. But when we spoke, I suppose a year and a half ago, I think the achievement of anyone getting a book published, for anyone that's involved in the art of books, it's an incredible achievement to get a book published. Never mind you know, writing it, never mind having the career that you've had. But I just wanted to kind of have a quick chat to you about why now? Why did you feel that you wanted to write the book, Seamus? What kind of inspired you to write it?
Well, after having a heart attack and losing the paper and so on, that was a terrible setback for me personally, as you read in the book. And that's the old Ballymun, obviously. I felt I had to do something with my time as well, because the paper gone and I was retired from journalism. And I decided to write a book about Ballymun. And it was mainly about the regeneration of Ballymun. I'd written about 50,000 words. But then a friend of mine came along to me and said, Seamus, forget about that, just write about the Ballymun Concrete News. So that was the reason I decided to focus on, because there was a need for some people to know.
And it was interesting kind of talking to you about when you were writing it and when you were kind of redrafting it, is that, you know, I would echo kind of what Carl said. I mean, it's a brilliant read and it's a brilliant historical document, an archival document on Ballymun. But the piece that kind of puts it over the line into a great read, should be on sale afterwards and in many reputable bookstores and in Access for the next few weeks, is your own story. Because I think for me, you know, you were at everything socially, politically, and community that I've been here for 14 years, and like you were there at everything. And I think that it was great for me to actually read about you, you know, that, because too often, you know, the positive news stories were fantastic, but I found it really, really enlightening to hear more about, you know, you in the book. Did you find that challenging, kind of writing about yourself?
There were aspects of it that I felt that, as Carol quite rightly said, I had to be honest in everything I put into the book. I put my heart and soul into writing what I wrote, and it was painful at times, particularly as Carol mentioned, that when I went through this agoraphobic state, I couldn't go outside the door and so on. Well, thanks to my good wife and family, and my old dog Sam, who took me out for walkies. As you read in the book, he was partially responsible for my cure as well. But yes, it was painful to write about that history, because it takes me back to my early childhood. When I was in the book at the age of 3, my mother told me I could actually read the newspaper. I don't know if I could read one now. I don't actually buy them. I think Don Muller would know why. I have to thank Don for coming all the way from, here to take the time and trouble. Don is a very famous writer, as you probably know, from Bloody Sunday and so on, and the film. I think most of you will remember taking part in the making of the film of Bloody Sunday, which also features in the book, by the way. But yes, I mean, there were painful memories when I did have an illness as a young boy as well, which in a way probably led me to be what I am today. So in a way I'm sad and glad that it happened, and you'll understand why when you read it. Perhaps, Carol, you could be right, it probably is the best chapter, because it brought out the deepest thoughts within me as a writer. So I don't want to talk anymore about it, just read it.
Yeah, don't give anything away. I'm paid for it. I suppose what's interesting to me, you know, across the years, the Ballymun Concrete News, and now, you know, online with the archive and Ballymun Talks, you know, the positive news thing is really interesting. But you know, what was fascinating, Seamus, is that your journalistic style was far from just purely being positive or being whitewashy. Do you know what I mean? So you actually dug down into every story, that, you know, every event here, you wanted to know every detail. But the way that was portrayed was brilliantly different to, like, articles like you mentioned, you know, that would appear in national newspapers about Ballymun. So you still had the rigour of the investigative journalist. And then, so why did you choose the positive side?
Well, as I spoke to at NUJ meetings, I don't know if Seamus Dooley's here tonight, he said he was coming, but I don't know who there were any NUJ people here tonight. Maybe they want to raise their hands in the air. I think Kieran Fagan's over there. But yeah, I think that they accepted my copy in the national newspapers because A, it was Ballymun, and Ballymun was always interesting to the national newspapers at the time because there was so much negativity going on and it presented great headlines. But to get positive stories from Ballymun, it was somehow surprising to them because I sensationalised them. I made them read as if they would have been reading a negative report, but a positive report written in a negative way, if that makes sense. Yeah. So therefore the editors went and they did understand. And my first assignment, I actually got my byline. Santa will slay them was the first story I ever covered in the Star, and I got a byline. But yeah, I mean, this is very interesting from the point of view that places like Ballymun, all over the world, are suffering terribly at the hands of sections of the press and the media who are labelling them not only as being disadvantaged, low income threshold, poverty stricken, and they could do nothing but get into trouble and crime.